Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are joining this live broadcast from across the globe or watching the rebroadcast. This is Sunshine Silas, Africa's #1 bounce back coach. I am super excited that you could join us tonight on this live broadcast, which is the reFocus Africa online mentoring program. It's going to be a great experience sharing auspicious moments with you, mentoring moments with you, wherever you are across the globe. And we have one simple objective with the reFocus Africa online mentoring program. It is to inspire people and organizations to rediscover their purpose, to harness their potentials, deploy their gifts, and maximize their potentials to live and to lead a life without limits. We are here to help you and to push you into your greatness. So on this note, I want to specially welcome you to the inaugural edition of the reFocus Africa online mentoring program. Again, my name is Sunshine Silas, and I am privileged to share this first session with you. So tonight, what are we going to be talking about on our mentoring session? I have thought long and hard about some of the challenges that people face in their quest to success, on their journey to greatness, whether it is in terms of their academics or their finances or their businesses. And so we have looked and we have searched for some of the questions that we believe they would be questions that we believe are going to be relevant to everyone. And we want to share the answers to some of these questions with you. And hopefully we can inspire you to take the steps and to take the actions that would make you the success that you have envisioned for yourself. And so today I'm going to be taking on one word: action. Oftentimes I've had people ask me this question: Sunshine Silas, if you had an opportunity to relive your life again, to start all over again on a clean slate, what would you do differently? Each time I'm asked this question, I try to take a panoramic view of my life. And I ask myself, Silas, you've done a lot of things. You've made a lot of mistakes, and you've learned a lot of lessons along the road. But if you were to share just one advice with someone on restarting their life, on reinventing their life, what would it be? And each time I take a look at my life, the answer has always been the same: action. I regret the actions I never took. I regret the decisions I never made. I've had a lot of regrets in my life. But one of the greatest regrets I have are not the things that I did. The greatest regrets I've had in life are the things I never did. Now, that's very important. I regret the things that I did. Don't get me wrong. But every mistake that I made, I learned from it. I learned from my mistakes. I learned from my poor choices. I learned from my wrong decisions. But the ones that I never took any action from, those were the greatest mistakes of my life. You know why? Because I have no lesson I learned from it. No lesson whatsoever. I don't know what it would have been if I'd taken that step. And so each time I look back, my greatest mistake was I never had an opportunity to learn a lesson. It's amazing how many ideas, how many dreams have been botched, how many ideas have been crippled, not because of a lack of opportunity, but simply because of inaction. Inaction have murdered a lot of dreams, murdered a lot of visions, murdered a lot of businesses, not because of a lack of qualification, but simply because people refused to take action. People refuse to take action. Action is the sole determinant of your destiny. Regardless of how gifted you are, regardless of the potentials you have, regardless of the opportunities around you, if you refuse to take action, nothing changes. Absolutely nothing. It reminds me of an experience I had some time back when I had a client who was a general in the army, in the Nigerian army. And on one of those days that we were having a counseling session, I had to visit him in his house, sitting down in this opulent sitting room. And then while we were talking, I said, "Sir, please, do you have a gun in this house?" Knowing fully well that this is an army general, of course he's licensed and he will have a gun. So he said, "What do you want to do with a gun?" I said, "Sir, please, could you just bring out a gun? Let's have a little experiment. And so he stepped into his bedroom and he brought out this rifle. I'm sure it's the rifle in Nigeria. We call it the bazooka. I don't know the names that you call it elsewhere, but it's a double barrel gun. And I said, sir, I want you to do one thing for me. Please take out all the cartridges from this gun and make sure that it's not loaded. He took out all the cartridges and I said, sir, please, in 2 minutes, can you tell me how powerful this gun is? Just run me through all the potentials that this gun has. And he started to explain from the power of the bullets, the size of the bullet, the diameter, and then he went on to tell me the speed at which the gun fires. And then by the time he had finished, he went on and on and on about how powerful this gun was. How fatal a shot from this gun was. The chances of survival were like 10 or less than 10%. And I asked him, sir, having said all those wonderful things about this rifle, what would you consider the most lethal and powerful part of this rifle? He stared at the gun, and for a few moments he was confused. Was it the bullet? Was it the barrel? What made this gun so powerful? And I asked him, think hard. What part of this gun would you take away that will make it useless? And the light bulb moment flashed on. And he said, it looks quite innocuous, very simple. But I think the greatest and the most powerful part of this gun is the trigger. That, my friend, is the secret of life, the trigger. The gun is loaded, the gun is powerful, but without the trigger, the gun is useless. It's the trigger that deploys the potentials of the gun. It's the trigger that deploys the potentials and the power of the rifle. I want to tell you that actions are the triggers of life. There are a lot of people walking about on the street, loaded with information, loaded with facts. They have all the data in their head. They have all the potentials. They are loaded rifles, but they are casualties in their quest for success, casualties in their quest for greatness, simply because they have not learned how to pull the trigger. How to pull the trigger. You must learn to pull the trigger. The power is only deployed when the trigger is pulled. I don't know who I'm speaking to tonight, but you need to pull the trigger of your life and take action. You need to take a step. Action is what defines winners from losers. Action is what defines successes from failures. Action is what makes the difference. I don't care how much you know. I don't care who you're connected with. But until you take action about what you know, about the people that you're connected to, you will remain stranded. Can you imagine a soldier going into battle, armed with all the ammunitions, all the AK-47s, but he has not learned how to pull the trigger? You know what will happen to him? He will be a casualty on the war front. Simply because he has not learned how to pull the trigger. And so tonight I'm asking you, what is that trigger in your life that you need to pull? Some of you have fantastic business ideas, but you've not learned to pull the trigger. Great visions, but you've not learned to pull the trigger. It's the simplest part of the mission, but it's the most important part of the mission. Taking a step. Rome was built one brick at a time, taking the step. Palaces are built one stone at a time, taking the step. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, taking action. Is it possible that you are stranded, not because you are not gifted, simply because you have refused to take action? Pull the trigger of your life. What's going to happen if you pull the trigger? Set your life in motion. I remember the story in the Bible about the 4 lepers. For those of us who are Bible students, 4 lepers stranded in the city. Because of the siege, there was so much hunger and famine. And then they reasoned among themselves and said, hey, if we stay here, we'll certainly die of starvation. If we go out, we'll probably die. But there is a slim chance we might survive. So what are we going to do? It's a battle between action and inaction. It's a battle between decision and indecision. And I'm glad they took the decision and said, hey, either way we die, but let's choose how we are going to die. We'll rather die seeking for a solution than die resigning to our fate. And so they stepped out. And guess what? They didn't die. There was abundance waiting for them outside the city walls. I want to tell you something tonight. We all are going to die. No one is immortal. Death is inevitable. We don't take action because we don't want to die. We take action because we choose how we want to die. We take action because we refuse to resign to fate. We refuse to settle for the status quo. And I'm asking you tonight, how do you want to live your life? Do you want to resign to fate? Or do you want to take a step and do something about your life, about your business, about your family? My greatest regrets in life has been the number of years I wasted in complaining, in murmuring, and in waiting. The years I never took action about my dreams. The years I never took action about my visions. The years that I was crippled and paralyzed and I refused to take a step in moving my life forward. I'm grateful for how far God has brought me, don't get me wrong. But I realized that some of the greatest setbacks I had in life was not because God kept me back, but because I held myself back. One step of action can put you 5 years ahead in life. One step of action can change your marriage forever. It can bring back the bliss and the romance into your marriage. It might be meeting a counselor. It might be seeking professional advice. It might be sitting down to talk with your wife. It might be creating the time for your family. One action could change your career forever. It could be subscribing for a program. It could be registering for a training. It could be reinventing your skill sets. One action could change your life forever. It could be having a conversation with a mentor. One action. The difference between the winners and the losers are the actions that they took. What actions are you taking right now to change your life? One step at a time. For some of you, it might just be as simple as going back to the files on your desk, to the files in your drawer that have gathered dust, bringing them out and reviewing them again. For some of you, it might be sitting down with yourself and asking questions, seeking for answers, taking a step. Nothing separates winners from losers as action. I'm a leadership coach, and within one of my sessions, I had a young, beautiful lady walk up to me in the office and said, "Sir, please, I want to take a course on public speaking. I have a problem with speaking in public. I have stage fright. I don't know where to start. Please, can you help me?" I said, "Okay, I'll be willing to help you. You know what? Let me reschedule an appointment with you. Today is a very busy day. Come back in 3 days' time, and then we can talk." So I spoke with some of my friends and I said, "Hey, please, I need you to do something for me. Can you come to my office on this date by so and so time, please?" I scheduled an appointment with 10 of my friends. They came around. I had them sit in the office at the conference room. While they waited, this young lady walked in. And so I said, "Can you share with me again what your challenges are?" And she said, "I want to be a public speaker." I said, "Why?" She shared with me her reasons for being a public speaker, the ideals and the ideologies she would like to share with the world, her vision and her passion. Fantastic. And I said, what's holding you back? She said, simply stage fright. I can't stand to speak in front of people. I said, that's fine. I said, can you accompany me for 1 minute? And as we stepped into the conference room, my friends were all seated there, 10 of them. And I said, young lady, I'm giving you 3 minutes to address us. She was trembling and shivering. And she said, no, I'm not ready for this. No, I thought you were going to teach me some of the techniques about overcoming stage fright. Talk to me about taking a deep breath. Talk to me about how I'm supposed to position myself on the stage. Talk to me about how I'm supposed to avoid maintaining eye contact with the people. I looked at her in the face and I said, I don't care how many deep breaths you take. I don't care how you avoid maintaining eye contact with the audience. I don't care how many times you study your body language, but all of that is going to be useless if you don't get on the stage right now, open your big wide mouth and begin to speak. The only way of overcoming your fear is to take action. Just do it. It doesn't matter. Just take that action. I'm not asking you to be eloquent. I'm not asking for your rhetorical skills. I'm only saying speak. And she sauntered towards the crowd. She began to stammer some few words. And then she started speaking. And in 5 minutes, she regained her confidence. She was not perfect. But in 5 minutes, she made a progress she never would have made in 5 months reading from the pages of a book. I have learned that nothing dispels fear like action. Do the things that you fear, and the fear of death is certain. Take action. I can say this and say this and say this again. It will never be enough. If just one person listens to this broadcast and goes back and takes action about their vision, takes action about their business, takes action about their destiny, I will be fulfilled. This is what matters. Taking action. We can talk all we want, we can plan all we want, but until we take actions, plans are useless. A lot of people have been paralyzed by too much planning, waiting for the perfect moment. I don't know if you've ever been to a gun range before, but courtesy of my army friend, my client, he took me once to a gun range. You know what I discovered? It doesn't matter how long you point at the target. Until you pull the trigger, you will never know how close you are. You can point at the target for 5 minutes. You can point at it for 10 minutes. No matter how aligned it is in your sight, until you pull the trigger. It's the trigger that shows you the results. It's the trigger that shows you what you are capable of. So many of you have been talked out of your dreams, talked out of your visions. So many of you have been discouraged by the naysayers and the critics simply because you refuse to take action. You will never know what you are capable of until you take action. That has been one of my greatest regrets in life. The visions I never acted on, the ideas I never acted on, things I refuse to do. Now I don't even know if I'm capable of doing it or not, simply because I refuse to take action. No lesson learned, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Paralyzed by planning, paralyzed by fear, paralyzed by public opinion, paralyzed by shame. Everybody that refuses to take action becomes a victim of other people's opinions. Only action takers are world changers. Just before I came on this broadcast, I was reminiscing on the life of Martin Luther King. Years before the advent of Martin Luther King, so much injustice, but someone decided to take action. Someone said, enough of the complaints, enough of the murmurings. It's time to take an action. One word inspired a generation. One speech inspired the world. Changed the course of history. Caused a revolution in a generation. Emancipated an entire race because someone took an action. And I asked myself, what would have happened if Martin Luther King Jr. refused to take an action? What would have happened if he sealed his lips and refused to speak? What would have happened if he turned his face the other way and acted like he wasn't seeing the injustices that was going on around him? What would have happened? God will send you the wind, but it is your responsibility to pull up your sails. I'm going to say that again. God will send you the wind, but it is your responsibility to put up the sails. You must get into action, baby. Some of you are suffering in abusive relationships, not because you don't know what to do, but simply because you refuse to take action. I have never seen or heard or read about a man who became successful at anything without taking action. Everybody is capable of taking an action. Regardless of how disadvantaged you think you are, regardless of how helpless you think you are, regardless of how hopeless you think your situation is, you can turn it around by the power of an action. And you know the good news? Everybody can take an action. Everybody. No one can be too paralyzed not to take an action. There is always something you can do part-time. There is always something. You want to be a medical doctor, you don't have the funds to go to medical school, you can take an action. You can decide to learn a trade and keep the vision in your heart till you can empower yourself to get it. There is always something you can do. There is always something. There is always a starting point. Every destiny is at the mercy of action. Every future is at the mercy of action. And so tonight, I came to charge you. I came to appeal to you. Please, pull the trigger. Baby, pull the trigger. You are a walking miracle. Pull the trigger. The universe is waiting for you. Pull the trigger. People are waiting to invest in your vision. Pull the trigger. Someone needs to hear you for their life to take a change. Pull the trigger. Destinies are tied to you, waiting for you to manifest. Pull the trigger. Your aim may not be right. Pull the trigger. You may not hit it at your first shot, but pull the trigger. When you pull the trigger, you can refire. When you pull the trigger, you can refocus. When you pull the trigger, you can readjust. When you pull the trigger, you can learn from the mistakes. Listen to me, baby. Unless you pull the trigger, you will never know if you could hit it or not. You would never know if you could succeed or not. You will never know if you could win or not. It's time to pull the trigger. It might be walking out of a dangerous relationship. Pull the trigger. Pull the plug, baby. This is the time to act. Complaining won't change anything. Crying won't change anything. Sitting around and having a pity party won't change anything. For so many years, I allowed my life to be at the mercy of the government and the system. I was waiting for the time when everything would be perfect to take on my dreams. I always had an excuse. It was either I didn't have the resources, or I didn't feel capable enough. I didn't feel educated enough. I didn't think I had the certifications. But the moment I took action, Things started to change. My life started to make progress. Now people look at me and say, wow, you are Africa's #1 bounce back coach. Look at how far you've come. Look at the accomplishments you've made. But listen to me, boy. Listen to me, baby. I started saying and acting and taking action when I didn't look like it, when I didn't feel like it, when I didn't even know what I was doing. I was taking action. When I had just 2 shirts on my back, I was a leadership coach in my heart. I kept saying it. I kept investing in books. I didn't have any certification to my name, but I invested what I could. I took steps. When I didn't have clients, I turned my friends to my clients. I invested my time in them. I started mentoring even before I was a leadership coach. I took action. I took action. 1 step at a time. 1 certification at a time. 1 client at a time. 1 contact at a time. And guess what? You'll be surprised how far you can go when you learn to pull your feet 1 leg at a time. And so, as I summarize, let me remind us of the story of the prodigal son, a very popular account in scriptures of the prodigal son, as the name implies, who took his father's wealth. And the Bible says he ran away to a far country. Of course, he was entitled to it. It wasn't that he stole it. It was his inheritance. Went to a far country, lived a wanton and riotous life, and by the time he had wasted all his resources and fallen from grace to grass, from hero to zero, to a point he was feeding amongst the swines. What interests me about the scriptures is his life turned around when he came to his senses and said, I will arise and go to my father's house. And I will say to my father, I know I'm not worthy to be your son or even your hired servant, but please take me as one of your slaves. Once he made that decision and took a step, once he took that step and his father saw him from afar off, the Bible account tells us that the dad ran towards him, embraced him. He called that the fatted calf be killed. He took his robe and placed upon him, and placed back the ring in his hands, and said, come, everyone, rejoice and celebrate with me. For this my son was lost, but now he's been found. My question is, when did his life turn around? His life didn't turn around when he met his dad. His life turned around when he took an action to return home. Is it possible that where you are now, you are stuck simply because you've refused to turn around, to take a step back to your greatness, back to your destiny? It's never too late. You cannot go back and have a brand new beginning, but you can start where you are and create a brand new ending. I know you have broken dreams. I know you may have broken visions. I know you've lost a deal on your journey in life. But I came to tell you that one decision can restore all you've lost. One decision can restore all you've lost. I don't know what that decision is for you. But tonight, I came to inspire you to take action. Whatever it is that you need to do to take your life back on course, please take action. Every destiny is at the mercy of action. The devil cannot stop a man who is a perpetual action taker. And that's why the Bible says the righteous may fall 7 times, but believe me, baby, he will rise again because he's an action taker. It doesn't matter how low he falls, he will bounce back. You know why? He's an action taker. He will refuse to settle. He will refuse to be kept down. He will refuse to be stranded. He will always bounce back because he's an action taker. Actions are the seeds of greatness. Action are the seeds of greatness. People don't become champions by practicing in the gym. They become champions when they step into the ring. It's the action that validates our destiny. And so tonight, I do hope that wherever you are listening to this broadcast, you can go back, reflect on your life, and by God's grace, take the needed action that will take your life to a place of greatness. Whatever that action means for you, please let nothing hold you back. Pick the phone, make that call if you have to. Pick your journal, write that note if you have to. Open your laptops, go back to that project if you have to. Call back your partners if you have to. Revisit that vision if you have to. Make that decision if you need to. Walk out of that relationship if you have to. But please, take action. Don't surrender to fate. Don't accept the status quo. Struggle is proof that you've not been defeated. Struggle is proof that you've not been overcome. What happens, Silas, if I take the action and I don't succeed? Take another action. If you take an action and it doesn't work, baby, make a reaction. Don't quit until you win. But winning starts when you take an action. Send me your comments. Send me your messages and your feedback. Perhaps there are areas that reFocus Africa can help you to take action. Share that with us. This is a mentoring program. It's done online. And of course, understand that we are reachable. We are available. Whoever you are, wherever you are across the globe connected to us, would like to speak with us, would like to speak with some of our coaches, you would like to have a personal session, we are here to inspire you to greatness. We are here to share with you, and by God's grace, to push you into the greatness that God has destined and designed you for. Thank you so much for being a part of this broadcast. We love you, we appreciate you, we value you. There is so much to be said, but due to time constraints, we have to keep it short and simple, hopefully. Until I come your way again in the next 24 hours, this is Sunshine Silas, Africa's #1 bounce back coach, telling you, stay safe. Please wear your mask. Please wash your hands with soap and water. Maintain social distancing wherever you are. Be safe. But don't forget, wherever you do, wherever you are, whatever you do, keep taking action until you arrive at your destiny. I love you. Have a fantastic day ahead of you. Bye-bye.